Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This is Stinchfield, the podcast. So they did it. They destroyed evidence. I'm talking about the J6 committee under Nancy Pelosi's direction. We now have overwhelming proof that they were getting rid of anything that would have been a defense for Donald Trump and Donald Trump supporters. I've got a very special interview with a gentleman by the name of Thomas Speciale, who was a longtime intel guy. He was working for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence as we were moving on in to January 6th, 2021, when all hell broke loose. Well, he had pertinent information, and he wrote a report, and he gave that report to the Intelligence Committee, to the J6 Committee. So he gives this report to the J6 Committee, and they not only ignore it, but by all evidence, it appears they destroyed it. We're going to talk to Thomas Speciale today. It is an interview that General Michael Flynn, a hero of mine, I know a hero of yours, calls an interview that will make your blood boil. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. This, as a new J6 committee has been formed. I'm not sure why we're allowing people like Eric Swalwell on that committee. I'm not sure why we're allowing Jasmine Crockett, Jamie Raskin. These are radicals who will not be in search of the truth. They will do everything they can to sabotage the work of this committee. I'm very upset they're even on this committee, but that committee will move forward. We will talk about that today. Before we do, though, if you're looking to make some money, folks, I got something for you. If you want to maximize your crypto profits, okay, while keeping risk in check, I want you to listen up. The Crypto Code is a battle-traded crypto trading system providing education, pro tools, and trade alerts with, are you ready for this? A 93% win rate. 93% with low risk. Right now, they're hosting a free workshop this week to show you how to stack consistent gains. Do not chase hype. I went through this workshop. It's very, very helpful, by the way. Stay to the end. They'll send you $10 in Bitcoin plus a free weekly trade alert with no purchase necessary. How do you get there? Go to thecryptocode.com. That's thecryptocode.com/grant. Again, thecryptocode.com/grant. Go there today. Go through this video. They will take you behind the scenes of the process. You are not going to regret it. Again, 93% win rate. This crypto system is fabulous. Thecryptocode.com/grant. The FTC mandates that I tell you gains are not guaranteed. Nothing I tell you is investment advice. But I will say this, check it out and make your own decision. You won't go wrong, in my humble opinion. All right, folks. As we move on, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got a problem with the audio here. This is not good. Are you guys hearing this? Is there a better? That should be better on the audio. Okay. Very, very strange. Not sure what is going on with the audio there, but we will figure it out. All right, folks, as we continue, the J6 committee, a real strong issues that I have with the new committee, with a guy like Jamie Raskin on it. Listen to what he is more focused on than the actual work of the committee. He's more focused on this.
We'll also get the chance with the new select subcommittee to examine the constantly growing criminal records of all of the violent felons and cop beaters and white nationalists who Donald Trump pardoned and released onto our streets on day one. And they've been picked up on all kinds of crimes. One from Virginia was engaged in burglarizing homes in the neighborhood where he lived. But
all right, so burglarizing names and homes. Now, this is what he's more concerned about than the J6 committee. That's Jamie Raskin. Now, I'm happy we got guys like Jim Jordan, who does want to get to the bottom of what happened, the persecution against conservatives, and why this new J6 investigative committee is going to be so important to root out who on the J6 committee, what staffers, many of them were not pardoned, by the way, need to be investigated and ultimately pay penalties for their crimes against America.
How do we prevent payola? How do we prevent the judicial corruption here?
Yeah, I think that's just an investigation has to take place. If there's some kind of conflict of interest, we got to look at that. I didn't know that potential fact there or that situation. So I think that's something that should be investigated. From our standpoint, we're concerned about we want the independence of the judicial branch, but when you start having judges who think that they're the end all be all, particularly on some even a broader context. I know we talked about this a while back, but we've passed legislation through our committee through the House when it comes to these federal district judges who. All
right, we're having all kinds of issues today with the podcast. That's the wrong clip from Jim Jordan. Barry Loudermilk is talking about the J6 committee.
Can you confirm to us that the videotapes of Cassidy Hutchinson, the ones where she's now changing her testimony through the errata, that they are missing, they are gone?
That is true. I can confirm that, and all of the videotapes of all depositions are gone. Again, we found out about this early in the investigation when I received a call from someone who was looking for some information off one of the videotapes, and we started searching and we had none. I wrote a letter to Benny Thompson asking for them, and he confirmed that they did not preserve those tapes. He didn't feel that they had to, but according to House rules, you have to preserve any data and information and documents that are used in an official proceeding.
I don't care who the witness is. If you're interviewing them, and this is a congressional investigation, how are you not preserving the tapes? They're not preserving the tapes because it was damning against their agenda. They're not preserving the tapes because the witnesses didn't back up what the left was saying about President Trump and his supporters. So they destroy the tapes. And this interview that I do with Thomas Speciale, and I'm going to play that for you in a moment, gets to the heart of the destruction of these tapes.
They did. They actually aired portions of these tapes on their televised hearings, which means they had to keep those. But yet he chose not to. I believe they exist somewhere. We've just got to find where all these videos are. And here's why it's so important. Even with Cassidy Hutchins, people have asked, why do you need the videos? You've got written transcripts. Well, when you've got someone like Cassidy who is significantly changing her testimony, I want to see what her body language is when she gave her original testimony. Yeah. I want to see what her voice inflection is. Was she very confident in what she was saying at that time, but then later decided to change it? This is why it's so important that we have those videotapes, and I believe that's probably why we don't have them.
Yeah, it's exactly why we don't have them. Body language is everything. There is nothing like being able to look in someone's eye. In person is best, but over video is second best. Certainly reading a transcript is the worst way you could try to figure out what someone's body language is telling them, because you don't have access to their body language. So again, this gets back to, how do we hold the original J6 committee accountable? How do we get back to the business of getting the facts out, of realizing that someone cannot weaponize a congressional committee against the good people of America? Well, Ed Martin is in the Justice Department. He's a prosecutor. He talked about this.
Real quick, what about the January 6th committee? Did they destroy evidence? Is there criminality there?
Of course. Of course, we're all in that too, and trust me, a lot of people did not get a pardon that were involved in the select committee, and they ought to be keeping an eye on their mailbox, because there's a lot to be asked about.
And the pardons that were given out were done by an auto pen. Are they legitimate?
Well, I'm the pardon attorney, so I'm in that too. I can tell you we're investigating how the pardons were granted. It was not like anything in the history of America what not Joe Biden, his staffers did, not just with the auto pen, but with faking him out on the memos. More to come, Maria. I'm telling you, Pam Bondi has let us loose, and when this comes out, it'll take the whole of these people's hoaxes down, and we're doing it bit by bit, and it's fantastic. It's a great privilege.
Well, it sure is. And I have great faith that a guy like Ed Martin will do his best to go after this. Now, the deep state's going to be standing in the way every step of the way. That becomes very, very clear. Now, this interview with Thomas Speciale that General Mike Flynn called an interview that will make your blood boil. I'm going to play it for you here in just a moment. But before I do, I want to tell you about my friends over at the wellness company, twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. Now, I just got off the parasite cleanse. This parasite cleanse was phenomenal. I lost so much bloat and my skin cleared up. I do believe I was one of the hundreds of millions of Americans, at least 100 million Americans, by some accounts 60 million Americans, have parasites. I eat a lot of sushi. That could be one of the reasons. My bloat went away on the parasite cleanse. It's ivermectin and mebendazole combination. Fabulous. And now I see this Chagas parasite popping up, which the CDC, even under RFK Jr., has labeled an epidemic in America. I think it's a good idea to go through one of these parasite cleanse courses once or twice a year. You get the parasite cleanse from the wellness company. You'll have enough of this medication to do this once or twice a year. TWC.health/grant. That's TWC.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off, and it'll be well worth your time to do it. All right. My interview with Thomas Speciale started out like this. I was calling into question who Hakeem Jeffries had nominated to be on the new J6 committee, and that's how we got into this interview on Real America's Voice last night.
Jamie Raskin, as the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, will be an ex officio member, according to the protocol that has been previously set forth by Democrats and Republicans. Eric Swalwell is the top Democrat on that committee, a member of the Judiciary Committee. Jasmine Crockett, a member of the Judiciary Committee. And Jared Moskowitz, a member of the Judiciary Committee. And Republicans will regret that they've decided to go down this road.
No, I don't think we will, but I will regret that we're even allowing those absolute partisan crazy people on this committee. They are not going to be truthful or trustworthy at all, and they'll try to sabotage every step of the way. It's what happened during the last committee. Documents were destroyed. Information was destroyed. You had real witnesses that were willing to give information up, and that information was not only ignored but destroyed. We know this because we're getting word of it from one of those witnesses, 30-year career Army intelligence officer, senior U.S. intelligence professional, and senior collection strategist on domestic terrorism in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence from October 2020 to January 20th of 2021. Thomas Speciale is with us. Thomas, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get right down to this. You had information that would have been useful to the January 6th committee from your time in the ODNI's office. They destroyed it?
Yeah, they not only destroyed it, I practically begged them to do a classified briefing with me. I had served as you said, the senior intelligence collection strategist for domestic terrorism. And while I was in the ODNI, I was fighting from within the system against the FBI that wanted a federal domestic terrorism criminal statute, which I knew from going back to the history of the Church Committee was totally unconstitutional, that they couldn't get a federal statute for domestic terrorism in the United States because of that, in the words of one of the senior FBI people, because of that pesky thing called a constitution. And I have this stuff in writing. I wrote the integrated collection strategy, or what they call the collection posture statement for domestic terrorism, which is basically an aggregate of all of the collection capability on domestic terrorism. And I also wrote the collection emphasis message for racially and ethnically motivated violent extremists. What you're showing there is actually the inside the FBI's domestic terrorism strategy white paper that I published after I left the DNI, and where it's grayed out, those sections were originally redacted. I provided that report in its redacted form to the the earlier J6 committee, and they did not publish it as part of the congressional record. Right. Recently, it got unredacted, and I've been able to show what it was that they concealed before, which was all embarrassing to the FBI.
All right, let me read from, this is number 8 for the guys behind the glass. Quote, this is from you in that report. I already had concerns because the very first thing the FBI suggested in the integrated collection strategy on domestic terrorism was that, unredacted, they believed that to increase their collection on domestic terrorists, they needed a federal domestic terrorism statute to circumvent the First Amendment of the Constitution. So this is basically saying you had agents that wanted to do away with the First Amendment in order to carry out their investigations. What did the J6?
Not agents. This was just senior Department of Justice and senior FBI government officials that were advocating. Christopher Wray himself advocated for a federal domestic terrorism statute, and they only backed away from that advocacy, I think, after my report was pre-pub reviewed. I think they read my report, and then ultimately they backed away from that advocacy for a federal domestic terrorism statute because they knew it was unconstitutional.
So you had instances where you had text messages, is that right, that would have proven a lot of this, and the J6 committee didn't want to see it?
No, what during the J6 committee interview, and I was a voluntary witness. I volunteered. At the time, I was the national spokesman for Vets for Trump, and I was also working, as a contractor in the intelligence community. And what I offered the J6 committee was a classified briefing where I would have been able to point them at the integrated collection strategy and the collection emphasis messages that I had written, which were intelligence community documents that would have properly framed the domestic terrorism threat. Because what the J6 committee was saying was that ultimately that there were domestic terrorists around every corner. Basically, the recent whistleblower revelation was that came out from an FBI whistleblower was that anybody basically that was a supporter of Trump that was on the Capitol on January 6th was designated as a domestic terrorist because wearing the name of a political person was considered an ideology. And so these were major problems that I was actually fighting inside the system even before January 6th.
And the committee wanted nothing to do with it, correct?
That's correct. And then they destroyed, I gave them, and this stuff's available on my website. I have a Inspector General's complaint to the Department of Defense, as well as to Congress. And this stuff's all on my website, thomasspeciale.com. You can find it there. But I provided substantive comment or responses to a subpoena that they gave me for a signal chat message that didn't really have anything in it. That's why I gave it to them, because there wasn't anything in it that I thought was of real value. But I also gave them a written response that they ultimately destroyed and never made public to the American people when they supposedly revealed everything when they closed the committee.
Well, this is the kind of thing that we're up against. Hopefully this new committee will call you in. You can go through some of this because this is specifically what they're supposed to be investigating. That was the cover-up of the truth. And then, of course, the creation of the lies to go after very good people in America. Lastly, for you, Thomas Speciale, you have confidence in this new committee, or are you skeptical? Real quick.
Well, I think that we've got to stay focused on the facts. We've got to stay focused on the truth. We've got to make sure that we can keep as much of the political hyperbole out of the conversation. We've got to look at the facts. And until the American people have all of the facts revealed to them, we're going to continue to run in circles on this. And so my great hope is, and under louder Congressman, his leadership, I think that we've got a really good chance. And I've been in communication with members of the judiciary as well as the HIPSI on being a witness to both committees.
Well, let's hope so. Barry Loudermilk's a good man. I know him personally, and let's hope we get some better action this time around than we did the last. That's for sure. Thomas Speciale, thank you for your service to this country. Thank you for being strong through all of this, and we'll talk again soon. All right, folks. That, of course, is Thomas Speciale, and doing such a great job to expose the corruption inside the January 6th committee, and he was literally persecuted for his involvement in January 6th. They went after him with a vengeance, basically tried to ruin his life. And that, folks, is a whole nother story. Very, very, very troubling, to say the least. All right, I want to turn now to the story that is really making headlines everywhere. And that is the story out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I am so troubled by what happened. I have the full video of the murder of poor Iryna Zarutska. It's 7.5 minutes long. People don't come to her aid for 1 minute and 30 seconds, roughly, as she bleeds out on that train. I've watched the entire video that's 7.5 minutes long. It's hard to watch. I'm not going to play it for you. There's just no real use in playing it. There was a use in the beginning to make people wake up to see what's going on, but I'm not going to play that video now. But what I will tell you is that we have a real problem with not just violent criminals in America, more specifically with violent criminals that are allowed to roam the streets. But I think one of the biggest problems why we have that problem is because we have judges who don't understand you have to keep criminals behind bars. This Teresa Stokes, she is the judge that released Decarlos Brown back in January with a promise to appear in court. He never should have been on the streets, arrested 14 times, 4-time felon. Well, Jesse Waters laid out her background. Listen to this.
This is Teresa Stokes, a Harris donor who doesn't even have a law degree, but just made a career criminal and a schizophrenic who beat his own sister when he was out on parole. Pinky promised that he'd behave.
Now, first off, did you hear what he said? She doesn't have a law degree. How are you allowed to be a judge in America today and not have a law degree? He's going to explain where she was appointed by, and it was great work by Fox to uncover all of this background about Stokes, but no law degree? Well, it turns out she's a DEI specialist.
Stokes wasn't elected. She was nominated by the clerk. In Mecklenburg County, the sitting clerk is Alyssa Chin Gary. On her LinkedIn page, she calls herself a clerk and a DEI consultant and a racial equity organizer. And her life mission? Reparations.
We are here to honor them, to lift their names, and to continue the intergenerational work that we are required to do to eliminate structural racism.
Ms. Stokes.
So this literally is the person who appointed the judge, focused on reparations, DEI. It's all about division. It's all about dividing us when what? This animalistic thug on this train said, I killed the white girl. I got the white girl. We know this is about race. And yes, we know it is also about a crazy man. I have no doubt that he's mentally ill. I still think he should get the death penalty.
Was nominated by Judge Carla Archie. Judge Archie is friends with Eric Holder, Obama's wingman. And Judge Archie isn't just any judge. In 2019, she was the DEI Champion of the Year. Is this starting to make sense? Did a woman die because of DEI? Just a couple months ago, a guy shot 5 people on New Year's, and Judge Archie sentenced him to 1.5 years for shooting 5 people, 1.5 years. This is a DEI court, and they have blood on their hands. And if the people in robes are on the same side as the bad guys, that's suicide. Are you okay with the country committing judicial suicide? I'm not. DEI died when Kamala lost. It's illegal. And releasing felons with dozens of arrests for social justice is a crime against the country.
It really is. It's a crime against the country because we have a right in America to move freely about this country. And government has a responsibility to make sure its citizens can move freely with an ability to feel safe. Name me a transit system in America today, especially in a blue city, that you would feel safe riding. I broadcast to you from Dallas, Texas. Dallas is a blue city, sadly. I'm not getting on a bus in Dallas, Texas. I'm not getting on a DART train in Dallas, Texas, especially not in certain areas. They get worse than others. But the transit systems in America are not safe. Just go ask people in L.A., New York, Boston, Chicago, D.C. They will all tell the same story, that we have a real problem with our transit system. So he was talking about this judge. Well, this judge, apparently, thanks to Laura Loomer, she figured this out, opened up a sober bar on MLK Boulevard in Charlotte, North Carolina. I hate to break the news to everybody. Nothing good ever happens on any MLK Boulevard at any city in America, sadly. It's usually in the worst neighborhoods. This sober bar, I wonder if it's still in business.
Wing Heaven Sports Haven has everything you'd expect from a sports bar. Big screen TVs, boneless wings, and pool tables. The one thing it doesn't have? Alcohol.
It's BWs without alcohol.
Teresa Stokes is the co-owner of Wing Heaven Sports Haven.
Teresa Stokes is the judge that let this clown go. Clown, I call him. He's not a clown. He's the devil. Spawned from the devil himself, the son of the devil. Wing Heaven Sports Haven. You can tell she's not smart because this is not a smart idea. I would imagine there's no way this place is still open.
Michigan's first sober bar. Before venturing into the restaurant business, Stokes and Iryna Branscombe ran Pinnacle Recovery Services, a Lansing nonprofit housing program for underserved communities. Branscombe says their work at Pinnacle helped her understand the...
Well, whatever. They'll remain an underserved community at a sober bar. Nobody's getting overserved there. But you see the pattern here. And the pattern, quite frankly, is what is so upsetting about all of this. President Trump's response yesterday was nothing short of amazing. His line about we have to go after these people as vicious as they go after us. It's harsh words, but it's so true. And it is the only thing that they will realize.
For far too long, Americans have been forced to put up with Democrat-run cities that set loose savage, bloodthirsty criminals to prey on innocent people, really very, very innocent people. In every place, they control radical left judges, politicians, and activists, and they've adopted a policy of catch and release for thugs and killers. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we saw the results of these policies when a 23-year-old woman who came here from Ukraine met her bloody end on a public train. And here's a picture of it. This is the picture of it. And this is a picture of the woman, a beautiful young girl that never had problems in life, with a magnificent future in this country. And now she's dead. She was slaughtered by a deranged monster who was roaming free after 14 prior arrests. We cannot allow a depraved criminal element of violent repeat offenders to continue spreading destruction and death throughout our country. We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are. It's the only thing they understand. 24 of the top 25 most dangerous cities in America are run by Democrat mayors. 50 people were murdered in Chicago in recent weeks, with hundreds being shot. And it's time to stop this madness. The people of our country need to insist on protection, safety, law, and order. We have proven that it can be done because we did it right here in D.C., in District of Columbia. The capital of America was a bloodthirsty, horrible, dangerous place, one of the worst. And now it's a crime-free city, and we're going to keep it that way. It can be done. It can happen fast. All we want is, please, Mr. President, we need help. Chicago needs help. Other cities needs help. We'll do what has to be done because we're going to make America safe again. And that includes our big cities. We're going to make those cities safe. Thank you.
All right, so that's the president. As vicious as they are vicious. That's the model. That's what these criminals will understand. We have to be going after them as hard as they go after us. And when we catch them, we put them in prison and we put them there for a very long time. What's so hard to understand about that? You would think nothing. But it isn't that easy, is it? All right, I'm going to continue with some of the media reaction to this. Of course, I'm the racist one now. You got a black man who slits a white woman's throat, and now somehow Stinchfield and Charlie Kirk are the racist ones. I don't get it, folks. I really, really don't. Hey, before we talk about that, let me tell you about my friends over at EnergizedHealth.com. They changed my life. I lost 15 pounds on the Energized Health protocol. EnergizedHealth.com. That's EnergizedHealth.com. This is about intracellular hydration. My body fat went down. My muscle mass went up. My testosterone went up. My blood pressure went down. These are all things that I measured with a device. So this is not just me making this up. This is all measurements that I've taken, including blood work that I've gotten. The results were stunning. 15 pounds I lost in 2 weeks, and I've managed to keep it off. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. EnergizedHealth.com. This is a program that is not hard. It's a protocol that is easy to follow, and it's about taking your life back. Everything here is based in Christian principles as well, so this is a mind, body, soul program. You'll have support along the way. This is a life-changing, it's not a fad diet, okay? Life-changing, and it's something you can sustain. You're not having to go to boot camp workouts every day at 6 in the morning. This is really something special. EnergizedHealth.com. That's EnergizedHealth.com. All right, I want you to check that out. All right, as we continue covering Iryna Zarutska's murder, which is probably one of the harshest things that I've seen in a really long time, I want you to consider Van Jones. Now compare what he says to what the suspect mutters under his breath after killing Iryna. Van Jones, of course, CNN race baiter.
We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering.
I got the white girl. I got the white girl. Yeah, you sure did. She bled out. I watched it for 7 minutes. I didn't speed up the video. I didn't fast forward through it. I watched it for 7 minutes because I believe Iryna Zarutska deserved me to watch it for 7 minutes so I would not forget what this freaking animal did to her. For a minute and a half took for people to help her. There were people that ended up coming to her aid. And I think in many respects, it wasn't so much an issue that they didn't want to help her. It's an issue that they weren't really sure what was going on. It was silent. He slit her throat and there was no noise from her. And she died basically very quietly as she bled out. And then people started to realize something was wrong as they see the blood. They see the blood on the suspect. And he's muttering, I got the white girl, I got the white girl. Why do you think he killed her, Van Jones? You think he was just a crazed lunatic who would have killed anybody? If it was a black man, if it was you, Van Jones, sitting in front of that guy, would he have killed you? I don't think so. He was out for blood and he got it, this guy. He really was. So this is the prosecutor. The feds are now going to charge him with a federal crime. The prosecutor, you could see, is torn up about this, especially after talking to her family.
not a policing failure. Where exactly did the system fail?
Well, it's hard to say. This man was charged 14 times. There's been numerous encounters with police departments. He was arrested by the CMPD in January, but he's still on our streets. So we'll have to figure this out, right? This is not a problem the FBI or the U.S. Attorney's Office can solve. We can work cases. We can react to crime. We can be proactive and try to prevent crime. Look, I think, President Trump's spoken about this case in the last few days, and he has daughters. I have daughters. So it really hits close to home, right? And why do we have people, whether there's mental health issues or violent crime issues, why are they on the streets? Why are our buses, our trains, our transportation systems almost homeless shelters or mental health shelters? We need to fix that. We need to clean that up. We can only do so much. This is going to take a lot more work from society, from the people in power and the politicians. It's not something I can solve. But we can work cases and we can bring people to justice.
Well, I have no doubt that the Justice Department under Pam Bondi can do just that. How long will it take to bring this guy to justice? It may take a while. What is justice? I hope it's the death penalty. I'm not sure if that's on the table here or not, but it needs to be, because I'm angry. And this is not a black or white situation story, although I will say this. This guy's brother said he needed to be taken off the streets. This guy's mother said he needed to be taken off the streets, and that the system failed. I would say his family failed him as well if they didn't do something about it to get this guy some help. I would say the breakdown of the American family plays a role in this. The guy was apparently homeless. That plays a role in the breakdown of the American family. Drugs plays a role in this. I'm sure once his toxicology comes back, he's going to be drugged out on drugs. You got the homeless aspect of this. The police, he said it's not a policing issue. Well, there was not a police on this train for 7 minutes while this girl bled out. So I think it is a policing issue. He had jumped the fare, so he never paid for his ticket. Not that that really matters much, but it's all of this just, there's no accountability for anything. And then you get the left like Van Jones and this despicable human being, Brian Stelter, who wants to make claims like this.
Over the weekend, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, other Trump-aligned figures succeeded in making this senseless death a symbol of big city crime. We heard President Trump asked about it yesterday when he was heading home from New York City. He didn't seem to know much about it. He said he would get briefed, and then today, Trump did know all about it. That's exactly what has happened here. This story has trickled up from local news to social media and now to the president's attention. And it's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol, with MAGA media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist, stoking fear of African Americans because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping. But there are also legitimate questions about this so-called career criminal, someone who had been a repeat offender. And those questions, I hope they're not lost amid all of the cesspool kind of comments on social media.
Oh, give me a break. Social media is a cesspool, and that comes from both sides. I'm not going to say that there aren't some racist comments that were probably made on X. Have you read the racist comments when you see a Black Lives Matter poster about George Floyd and the racist comments made about white folks? Like, that comes from both sides. You got to separate out the noise and get back to the facts. We have a real problem in America with minority crime. We have a real problem in America with black-on-black crime that's taking away our young black males at a record rate in cities like Chicago and D.C. But we also have a real problem with black-on-white crime. But the media doesn't want to report on any of those things, okay? I saw this was put together. It was a montage of news reports that were put out. And this is about the opposite stories. The Daniel Pennies. Remember, Daniel Penny was the New York City subway hero who was vilified by the left. He saved a train car full of innocent people through his actions, and yet they vilified him. Why? because the person that he had killed defending others was black. And there are others.
Marine veteran Daniel Penny surrendered to authorities Friday morning to face a second-degree manslaughter charge.
5 to 15 years. Is that enough for someone who choked somebody out on the train and took their life?
The Neely supporters have been taking over streets and subway platforms, calling for an arrest.
Neely supporters say the acquittal is rooted in racism.
Jordan Neely supporters have been protesting, saying they wanted charges to be brought against Daniel Penny.
Bragg went on to say, quote, Jordan Neely should still be alive today.
And the person who killed him.
Do you see the heightened anger on behalf of the media and those activists? Where are those people today for Iryna Zarutska? Where's the heightened anger and activism from minority communities for Iryna Zarutska? That this poor blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman had her throat slit by a man who happens to be black and that turns out to be an animal. Where is the outrage? There isn't any. Because what's going on in America today is a war on white folks. Why? Because the media and the Marxists that are in charge of government and that work inside media want that war to fester and expand in order to take down this country. And that's a fact. They want us divided. When in fact, you can't just admit we got a real problem with minority crime in America today. It is a problem. I hate to break the news to you, but the numbers bear out that black folks at a rate, Hispanic folks at a rate much higher than white folks commit crimes. I actually don't think it has anything to do with the color of their skin. I think it has to do with poverty. And there are more people of color in poverty than there are white people. And when you're in poverty, you resort to crimes. That's not what I'm saying happened with Zarutska. Zarutska got killed by a violent animal. Has nothing to do with the color of his skin either. Has to do with a system that failed Iryna Zarutska to protect her from an animal. But we still have to be honest about what's going on in America today. These people are not honest.
Was not held responsible.
I don't know if he needed to hold him for 6 minutes.
I think it's a tragedy that Neely is dead today.
Multiple people testified that he didn't approach anyone in a threatening manner.
A lunatic just got up and started to viciously stab. She's just sitting there.
The silence from legacy media and Democrats is deafening.
This man was arrested 14 different times and was still able to walk free amongst us all.
Demonize the Good Samaritan and protect the predator. That is the Democrat way. That from Wesley Hunt, who's a congressman, who's also a black congressman. He couldn't have put it any better. Look at that. Demonize the Good Samaritan, protect the predator. That's the Democrat way. Boy, it sure is. And something's got to change with that. But nothing is changing. You know, we have judges that continue to let these people out and let these people go. I don't know what it is. Do they feel sorry for them? Do they think that it's cruel to put someone behind bars? It ain't cruel to put someone behind bars if someone did a cruel thing. It's called punishment. And oftentimes people deserve punishment. Watch this story I found online.
He's only 25, but is well known to Baton Rouge police, causing problems over the years spelled out in a plethora of paperwork filed with the 19th Judicial District Court.
It's extremely frustrating.
Baton Rouge Police Chief TJ Moore sat down with us Friday, expressing frustration after the same man is now accused of raping a small child.
We've arrested him 6 times over the last 6-7 years. He's everything from firearm charges to domestic abuse battery, violation of protective orders. He's currently on probation, supervised probation, by probation and parole.
Yet, he raped a small child, and he was out on the street. That's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Louisiana happens to be a red state. Baton Rouge happens to be a blue city. So, again, I'm in Texas, a red state, living in a blue city, Dallas. Blue cities are the problems, folks. Blue cities are the problems. Blue states are the problems. Blue is the problem. Democrats are the problem. Liberals, Marxists, radicals are the problem. The people in Washington with a D next to their name are the problem. The people that refuse to critically think for themselves are the problem. You understand? Everybody is the problem, but Make America Great Again conservatives. I hate to break the news to you. Everybody else is the problem. We got half of America that knows what's up. The other half are enabling the radicals to carry out their agenda on us, and that agenda is to destroy the American way of life, and they're doing it through criminals. Will it ever end? This is Caroline Leavitt.
Today, I would like to address the tragedy that has not received nearly enough media attention, the brutal murder of Iryna Zarutska. Here are the facts that many outlets have shamefully and intentionally failed to report until President Trump drew attention to it. On August 22nd, Iryna...
All right, so we went through some of those, of what the facts are. I'll let her continue here with this next section.
...preventable. Decarlos Brown never should have been on that train that night. In fact, he should have been behind bars. Decarlos Brown has been charged with crimes no fewer than 14 times, dating back to 2011, including for armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering, and shoplifting. Brown had previously served 5 years in prison for a robbery with a deadly weapon charge, and he had also forfeited bonds 3 different times, twice in 2014 and once in 2023. Despite all of this past documented criminal history, when Brown was arrested yet again in January of this past year, a Democrat judge, who I will add was a strong supporter of former Vice President Kamala Harris, released this insane criminal once again without requiring him to pay any bail. He simply had to sign a written promise to return for his court hearing. Think about how crazy it is to ask a career criminal, someone who by definition repeatedly breaks the law, to just sign a written promise and come back again another day. This is madness. This monster should have been locked up, and Iryna should still be alive. But Democrat politicians, liberal judges, and weak prosecutors would rather virtue signal than lock up criminals and protect their communities. And perhaps most shamefully of all, the majority of the media, many outlets in this room, decided that her murder was not worth reporting on originally because it does not fit a preferred narrative. Many of the journalists in this room spilled plenty of ink trying to smear Daniel Penny for defending a subway car from a deranged lunatic in New York City, but none of those same reporters lift a finger to write stories about an actual murderer.
It's true. We just went through the proof of all of that. She's great, Caroline Leavitt. President was great. Let's go after them as viciously as they go after us. We've got to do something to stop this. Before I let you go, I want to talk to you or play a clip from Ben Bergquam. Ice Air, do you know this exists? It's basically how we deport so many of these illegal aliens that are doing us so much harm. I'm going to play a little story from Ben Bergquam that he put together for us about Ice Air. It's an amazing operation they have going. We'll let Ben tell us about it. But before I get to that, folks, you know I talk to you all the time about Patriot Mobile. Well, I love my Patriot Mobile phone. Why? Because the folks behind Patriot Mobile are real conservatives. They believe in the things we believe in. You know they're going around right now trying to get 10 Commandment signs in all of the schools that they can. 10 Commandment signs. And, you know, the left's going crazy over this. But this is why I love Patriot Mobile. The other reason why I love Patriot Mobile is the service is great. And if I don't like my service, I can switch the network. They have access to all 3 networks. So you're not going to lose your cell service by switching to Patriot Mobile. In fact, you'll be guaranteed that you'll have the right service for your phone in the right area. That's one of the guarantees that only Patriot Mobile can give you. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month's service. And again, 100% U.S.-based customer service. Switching is so easy. Just takes minutes on the phone. So give them a call at 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT. Make sure you tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you and use that promo code GRANT for that free month service. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. All right, Ben Bergquam at it again, man. I'll tell you what, he really is amazing. This is the story of Ice Air.
So this is the end of the road for the illegals that are on these buses. They've had their due process, they've had their day in court, and now they're going home. Planes taken off, ICE air, illegals come into our country, they get apprehended by ICE, this is what happens. Moral of the story is, don't come in illegally.
Looks like a nice plane. Free ride home for the most part. I hope many of those illegals are using the Home app, which was the CBP-1 app to sneak you into the country by the Biden administration, now being used to self-deport yourself. If you use the One app, the now Home app, you will be able to try to come back in legally if you do it the right way. That is a very, very good thing. Here's what's interesting, folks. L.A. now wants to empty the prisons. So when I told you that leftists, we always see their plan first in California, don't we? Want to empty prisons and let the criminals out on the streets. I'm not lying to you. Rob Bonta is the attorney general in California. He is so upset with the conditions of the LA County Jail. Remember, run by Democrats, by the way. So this is what he's focused on. When homeless people are stabbing people with screwdrivers, when you've got crime running rampant throughout California, you now have Rob Bonta focused more on the criminals than he is on the people.
For decades, the county has been aware of the unconstitutional conditions inside its jails. Yet instead of taking responsibility and fixing the problems, they've resisted oversight. They've spent millions of dollars defending lawsuits, fighting change instead of embracing it. They've already been sued multiple times. They're under multiple consent decrees to implement changes. Even given the lawsuits, even given the consent decrees,
What is it about the left and the beta male mentality that they have? I mean, this guy is actually married to a woman. You'd never freaking know it. He literally fits the not Joe Biden, but who Joe Biden hires model of the beta male. And the beta male could never hold his own against one criminal inside LA County Jail. I promise you, this is MS-13 gang members, Tren de Aragua, Crips and Bloods. Then you've got murderers and bikers and gang members. These are the worst of the worst. These are some, because if they held you in LA County already, you know you're the worst of the worst because they're letting the shoplifters and the street bruisers go. So you've probably done some pretty bad things if you're in an LA County jail because they let everybody else go. This is who he wants to free?
still haven't implemented the needed change. Now, just to be clear, the fact of the need for change cannot be in dispute.
Yes, it can. I don't care if there's no air conditioning. I don't care if they're eating bread and water, quite frankly. I'm done with coddling criminals. So that's in L.A. And then, of course, you get in New York, Mom Donnie. He's open about what he wants to do. So if you think it's bad now, wait till they start emptying the prisons.
The jail population of Rikers has increased since Eric Adams has come into office by more than 1,000 additional incarcerated New Yorkers. And what is quite staggering to me is that we know that we can reduce that jail population to less than 4,000. I mean, Vital City had an article about a number of different proposals that could reduce it to 3,700. And some of this also just has to look at the average stay on Rikers in the 90s was 50 days. Now it's more than 100. There are more than 1,500 people on Rikers who have been held there for more than a year. So I do think many of the reforms that have to be made are also reforms around the court system and ensuring that people are.
So because they're waiting for their trial, your answer is to release them and let them wait at home. We've seen what happens. Just look at North Carolina. That's what happens when you release them and let them wait at home. They don't wait at home. They get on a train and they slit a woman's life. and take her life. They slit her throat. I'm done with these people. I really am. It's so depressing. Now, what I do take solace in the fact is when I watch President Trump in action, when I watch President Trump's team in action, though in some areas I'm not getting what I want quick enough, I am getting progress in just about every area. There are so many good things that are happening in America today. Thanks to President Trump, things are turning around, but this is depressing. What happened to this Iryna Zarutska? I'm going to ask all of you right now, and please say a prayer for her, say a prayer for her family, and say a prayer that they find some peace during a time where I don't know how you find peace. Because that poor, I'll call her a little girl, which is what she was. She was 23 years old. She didn't deserve to die at the hands of an animal. She didn't. I'm sure we'll do more on this on the Real America's Voice show tonight. Plus an orb. The United States military tries to take out an orb and the bullets go bouncing off it in the sky. This is the craziest video you'll ever see. I'm going to show it to you on the Real America's Voice show tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Stinchfield's Army Rolls, thanks to all of you. As you know, the website is grantstinchfield.com. Social media, Stinchfield1776. Thanks so much for watching, folks. We'll catch you back here tomorrow morning, same time, around noon Eastern. And we'll see you on the Rav show tonight. All right? God bless all of you.